What's going on, good people? Adrian Homeboy Holmes here to welcome you to the new season of Super Gamer Book Club. New season? Where's the old season, I hear you say? Well, you can find all the episodes of the old season from our original book club host Zetch on our Patreon. And you can also find the newest episodes of season 2 with host me, ding, on Patreon as well. Me, Garrett, and a special guest every month choose a game and we go over it and talk about it in a shorter, more informal kind of setting. It's almost like we're just hanging out and telling what we liked about the game, what we didn't like about the game, so on and so forth. So we decided this is too cool to sit behind Patreon for all of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the older episodes and put them out on this free podcast feed for you guys. And if you want to check out the new episodes of stuff that we're doing, you can go and subscribe to our Patreon for only $1 and you get the brand new book club episodes when they come out. That's all I got for right now. I hope you enjoy the episode and I hope you come to see what we have on Patreon. Take it easy and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 15. That's right, we've been doing this 15 months now, 15 times, and we haven't fell off yet, of Super Gamer Book Club. I'm your host, Adrian Homeboy Holmes, and as always with me, I have to my, well, I guess it would be to whichever side is going to be on the video.
We're above you right now, actually, so.
Oh, well, to my above, I guess, is my co-host, Mr. Garrett Morlang. How are you doing tonight, good man?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me again. I know last time, I think you gave me the warning, gave me a yellow card, said one more strike and you're out. So thanks for allowing me to come back. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Just be on your best behavior. And
yes, sir.
Our special guest for this episode of Call Me By Your Game fame, Super NPC Radio's own, Mr. Conner McCabe. How you doing, my good man?
Gents, I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me. I do want to just tell you up front that this is really cool. I got a letter in the mail that said that I won a spot on the Super Gamer Boys book club, but I don't remember entering any sort of contest, so I'm just going to not ask any questions and show up for the podcast.
Yes, it just mysteriously stowed up on your doorstep.
I think we've suddenly just made you the King Boo of this podcast.
Am I gonna have to add that to my Rolodex of names?
Your intro's gonna get real long on the main show.
I'm gonna have to find out what
the
I
Resident
need to. What I can.
Wait, what was it? The King of Video Games, Resident Superstar, and I don't know how we work that in. We'll have to workshop that. We'll work on that. But
and King Boo. We'll just call it
and Adrian King Boo Holmes.
Maybe we'll only do it for October.
Ooh,
okay.
Very nice.
That way it'll be.
That just means I need to remember it for an entire year because this year's done. So,
I mean, no time like the present to start traditions. So,
yeah.
Speaking of King Boo, if that is not hint enough, the game that we're going to be covering is the Nintendo GameCube classic, one of the scariest games ever made, and that is Luigi's Mansion. It is the quintessential launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, arguably, which a lot of people say I'm not going to fight them on because I can totally see it, Nintendo's best system. I've heard it said, not going to argue it because I totally get it. I'm still a Super Nintendo man, but I totally get why somebody would say that. Garrett, you got the wiki up. You got any fun trivia or details about the release or development of this title?
I do have a wiki up. I did not have a chance to look over any facts, unless you want. It came out of May. Sorry, that's not correct. That's in Australia. That's a fun fact. In Australia, it came out on May 17th. I
was going to say, there's no way it didn't.
Down under, they got a little later.
Just in time for Scary June.
Yeah. Man.
Well, I know it came out in November, right? Because the GameCube came out in November.
Yes, correct. So in North America, it came out on November 18th, 2001. and it sold over 3.3 million copies. Fifth best-selling GameCube game of all time. It was one of the first games to be re-released as a player's choice title on the system, which I don't know if I didn't even realize they had like a player's choice type thing on GameCube. Like I know like
You
PlayStation
haven't
always had
seen
like their greatest
those
hits or whatever, but I didn't realize Nintendo even had a thing like that.
you haven't seen those blinding yellow GameCube things? The spines?
No, I don't think so.
Disgusting.
I
It's
Just like
brutal.
just
I
like
got
PS2
out. I think
greatest hits, those
I got out of GameCube before that happened. Like I had mine for a
uh
while, then traded in for I don't even remember what I sold the thing and traded up for something else. But yeah,
well, if you had a PS2, it's just like that. Where those with those bright
the
red
red
greatest hits, bleh.
it was
Or
the
PS1
worst.
with those neon green ones. Get out of here.
I
What?
mean, the green wasn't too terrible to be honest.
It
Like,
was highlighter green. Ooze
I mean,
green. It was
it
Turtles
didn't
ooze
match.
green.
It didn't match the rest of the your lineup of games, but it still looked cool. As a
The
Well,
8-year-old, I'm like, yeah, lime green. This is
fair,
cool.
fair, fair.
the GameCube
Um,
2 had a very strange thing where they not only had the player's choice yellow sort of labels for certain games, but they also occasionally would have a bestseller stamp on a case as well. And I
Huh,
cannot tell you what the distinction is between the two.
interesting.
maybe it was different printings to denote different
It
printings.
it could have been, but it
Like,
seems like those both things should be related as far as like they're both sales related, I would assume.
Right, right. I guess one other fact here is this game was remade on the 3DS, co-developed by Nintendo and Grezzo. Was announced March 8th, 2018, and came out on October 12th, 2018. And just a little heads up, spoiler, I guess. That's how I played the game. Not originally. Originally, I played on GameCube, but this time around, play on 3DS. Let me just say, not that bad, not too shabby.
as did I. I played it on 3DS this go around too. But
Ooh.
we'll get into that. I have my GameCube copy, of course. It's my original launch day, all that jazz. But I was really excited to play it on 3DS because I had never got a chance to do it. And yeah, we'll get into that. Connor, you played the original though, right?
Yes, I did. I did try and see which was going to be the easiest to get my mitts on, and they were both equally difficult as it turns out. There are some 3DS titles out there that you can still get for a reasonable price under I think the original sell price, which would have been $40 for most 3DS games, I want to assume. But I ended up playing it on the only console I've ever played it on, which is the GameCube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Because you said this was your first time ever going all the way through. You tried it before, right?
Yes, this is a game that I remember coming out. I remember I was already a Nintendo Power subscriber, so I remember the Luigi's Mansion cover for the GameCube launch, being so excited for it, and never owned it still. This was a game that friend of the show, Eddie Martin, had in his GameCube collection, so I
Patreon
definitely
producer. Shout out to
Patreon
Eddie.
producer, the a soulful human. He definitely had this game, and I remember trying it out at his place, but never getting very far. And then also, I had a friend who somehow I ended up with their copy. He's not doesn't play video games anymore, but I ended up with his copy maybe 8 or so years ago, and I also poked around the first hour. But this is the first time I saw the majority of the game.
Wow,
Man. I
that's
cannot
awesome.
wait. Yeah, I cannot wait to pick your. But this is your first time too, right, Garrett?
My first time playing to completion after going through this playthrough. So I think I'd mentioned on our main show a couple times. Like, yeah, this is a game I owned as a child and played a bunch as a child, but I was a dumb kid who was bad at video games, so I never beat it. And in my head, I was like, even as an adult thinking back, I'm like, man, I must not have gotten very far. Like, there's no way I got very far into that game with how just how long I spent on it, and I just remember like playing in circles essentially. Like I just go to the same like 4 rooms because at least that's what it felt like. But
Right.
after playing through it, I'm like, okay, I got further than I thought. Like I got probably a good like halfway, 3/4 of the way through it. I just was, those last couple puzzles or whatever. I don't know what it was. Just it went over my head for whatever reason. But I got a good chunk into it previously, and but it was fun to finally finish it. And
Hmm.
even at the end, like there's they got me with, I don't know if necessarily a twist, but just like the surprise, like the boss fight at the end. I wasn't expecting that. I knew like, oh, King Boo,
Uh,
he's the bad guy, and then I'm like, wait, what? I guess spoilers for this, 21-year-old game. Um,
wow, it's
yeah, when
21
you
years
fight
old.
Bowser, and I was just like, what? This is crazy. And my son was sitting next to me, and he was stoked out of his mind. He's like, Dad, oh man, I want to watch you play fight Bowser. I'm like, okay, yeah, come on. And it was horrible. At the same time, my wife came downstairs and was like, "Hey, okay, like we're gonna do your haircut, Shep." And he's her bawling. He's like, I don't
What?
want to get my haircut right now. Daddy's gonna
Chef,
fight
I can
Bowser.
just
I gotta
fold it
watch it. I'm
closed,
like,
dude.
calm
We
down.
can
It's
come
all right. You
back.
know what? I could watch this like 3DS. Like, boom, put it to sleep. Pause. Come back to it later. Let's go get your haircut, and then we'll beat Bowser. And he's like, okay, all right. It's like so funny.
Your son
Wow,
was
he got really
invested.
excited.
He was
Right.
in. He watched me play a lot of it though. Like he would sit next to me while I was playing like through the whole game. So it was a lot of fun.
Aw.
Um, one of the things I remember, at least back in my day, where I was, when this game came out and GameCube came out, I remember people not being very high on this game, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because it wasn't a Mario game. I remember that was like one of the big sticklers when you would read um forum posts or something like that, or you would see different reviews or something, people who would write their own reviews, or they would talk about it themselves. That was one of the big sticklers is, oh, it's not Mario. But I kind of dug that because Luigi is not Mario. You know what I mean? I don't know if
Right.
that makes
It's
sense.
it's Mario. He's Mario's sidekick.
No, no, he's not. He's Mario's brother. We're not doing this. We're not disrespecting Luigi on his
Well,
own game episode.
all right. All
Um,
right. Next time. Next
no,
time.
but I mean, when you call something a different character, right? Like this is a Luigi game. I don't expect it to behave like a Mario game. I don't expect to run around
Right.
and jump on and Koopas and do all the regular Mario stuff because Luigi's not Mario. And I think people were just used to the idea that, oh, it's a new Nintendo console, so there must be a new Mario game coming. Granted, we did get one shortly after, but I think that just kind of threw people for a loop that they weren't expecting, and they were kind of upset about it. Like almost like how, and I will never let the internet forget this. When Wind Waker first came out, everybody hated the art style. I read so many message boards about people. Oh, it's Zelda. Oh, look at this kitty looking game. Now everybody says, oh, it's a masterpiece. I can't believe how beautiful the art is. Someone out there has to be lying, okay? But that's the
The
same thing with the internet. I feel like not necessarily revisionist history, but I think people realized that they were too harsh on that game for the on Luigi's Mansion for the wrong reasons. And I think nowadays it gets the respect it deserves as far as it being its own title and being, kind of at the forefront of GameCube. But um I've been going on a little
Absolutely.
long.
It's oftentimes, when we get a little time away from something or after the immediate reaction to something plays out, whether we're reacting to it or someone else, you get time to actually digest it and see
Mhm.
it for what it is as opposed to whatever context it's in, kind of like you're referring to the launch of the system. Nintendo, the GameCube also happens to be home to a lot of strange pivots in Nintendo franchises that were unexpected and a lot of weird titles as well. I mean, the first game you get on the system is a Luigi Ghostbusters game. In Mario, you're shooting water out of a jetpack to clean up this town. And in Zelda, yeah, when a lot of people were expecting or hoping for a more realistic, like gritty art style, since
Which we did
got,
get.
eventually got, we got Wind Waker, and there's In Donkey Kong, for whatever reason, you play the game with with bongos. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, a lot of strange, interesting, fun choices that we might revere GameCube for now, that at the time were definitely met with a lot of criticism and uncertainty, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I like to say that GameCube was Nintendo's Dreamcast, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Sega, the Dreamcast was like, to me, in my opinion, it was the height of their creativity. Like they
Mhm.
were firing creatively on all cylinders when they were making Dreamcast games. Unfortunately, of course, the console didn't get to live out its entire shelf life.
Mm.
But what we did get in that lineup for the initial run of the Dreamcast was some of the best gaming experiences I think we've to this day gotten from Sega. And I think it's the same thing from Nintendo. I think with GameCube, I don't know if that was the philosophy, was think outside the box, make something incredibly different and creative than anything that we've done before, and just roll with it. And I think, like you said, Luigi's Mansion is a perfect product, a perfect example of them thinking completely out of the formula and out of the box from what you would expect a Mario Brother game to be. And for me, it worked. But
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear about what you two think. So either one of you can start. Just top level impressions overall. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think just on the tail end of that too, I wonder how this game would have been received if it had come out October 2002 as opposed to as a launch title, and maybe we got a Mario there or something that would satisfy that big solo Nintendo launch. That's just a thought I have, is I wonder what things would have been like. Um, but at top level impressions, this game is so impressive as a Nintendo GameCube launch title, and just a title on that system in general. It shows off so much of what was newly capable with the hardware, and it's
Yes,
so
dude.
charming. And it set us off on the scaredy cat Luigi path that we have today, and it gave him a personality. There's
Yeah.
a lot that I ended up enjoying about this game.
I
I
think you're
feel
onto
it.
something with yeah, if we had gotten like a Mario first and Luigi came later. I was looking up Mario Sunshine to see when that came out, and it was the next year, like in August. So it was like almost like
Yes.
a year difference. So like if those had been swapped, I wonder if there would have been a little more better reception. Like, okay, we've already got our Mario game. Because when this came out, everyone was probably chomping at the bit for a Mario game, and they're like,
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion, what the heck is this? So yeah, I think you're onto something there. Where if we got Sunshine first, people probably would have been like, okay, yeah, cool, cool. We got a 3D Mario game. And then like the next year, like, oh, what's this new Luigi? This looks
Yeah.
cool. Oh, it's something different.
Only
I wonder if
problem would just be like Sunshine would be even more unfinished than when it came out initially.
yeah,
Well, what if?
what if? I do love me some Sunshine. That's like I honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think it's probably my favorite 3D Mario.
Hey,
uh
truly to each their own. Be true to yourself.
Not a hot take, but a
It's
rare
not.
take.
What was that?
Not a hot take, but a rare take. I don't think
Okay.
many
Yes.
people say that. I don't think it's controversial to say. But I don't hear very many people say it. Like my favorite Zelda is Twilight Princess. That
Woo.
that is I didn't say it was the best. I said it was my favorite. The best, of
Yes.
course, is Breath of the Wild. But my favorite
For
is
now.
Twilight Princess. For now. Yeah, you're right, because Tears of the Kingdom could come and blow it away. Um, but yeah, Garrett, where are you at with
Uh
it?
yeah, so kind of overarching thoughts here on the game. I really enjoyed my time. It was fun to because obviously like we all kind of had a little bit of nostalgia of this game. We all had played it previously, and it was fun to go into it with that nostalgia and not be just completely let down like Republic Commando that we played a few months ago, the Star Wars game.
Uh,
Ooh.
That was rough. That was really sad to go through that and be like, oof, this is a bad game. And so to come into this and be like, oh no, like this still controls fairly well. Again, I guess I was playing a 2018 remake, so the controls weren't exactly the same GameCube controls, which I'll be interested to hear from Connor, I guess, how he
Hmm.
felt with game once we get into that kind of later. But um On 3DS, it felt fine. There was some weird things missing, like it was weird, like, to look around having to use a little weird nubby thing on the 3DS. I wasn't a fan of that, and they tried to add motion controls, but
I
they
was gonna
didn't
say,
really
did you
work
try the
either. They
other?
they kinda, like, barely worked. So, like, I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it still felt good. It looked great on 3DS. It didn't quite have, all, like, the sparkle and shine and, like, cool special effects that the GameCube would have had the power to output, but it still, like, looked surprisingly good on there, and, yeah, overall, like, I was very happy with this game, had a blast. It was fun also playing it alongside let my son watch and stuff. I love how into it he was getting, like, every time he'd watch me, he's like, "Get that ghost, get him, you can get him." Like, he was, like, cheering me on like a little cheerleader. So, yeah, it was overall, I'm happy, because I wasn't let down with all, like, it's not like I looked back on with rose-tinted glasses. It was like, "Okay, no, like, I had a pretty accurate outlook of what this game was." Like, it wasn't a perfect game, but it was still a fun game. And I like the little, like, spooky vibes of it. I don't know, you guys know.
Yeah.
I like me some spooky vibes. That's why we do every year Spooky Gamer Boys, so favorite time of the year.
Uh, Connor, I wanted to double back on what you were talking about earlier, where you were saying that this was kind of at the forefront of showing off what GameCube was capable of.
Mhm.
Um, I was going over this one with a fine tooth comb on this run through, I should say, of 3DS and seeing exactly what they had to compromise to get it on 3DS versus it being on GameCube.
Mm.
Um, and while it is extremely impressive that they were able to get it to run on 3DS at all and run decently, uh, I could tell when when you're pixel peeping, you can see where things were cut, like reflections had to be toned
Mm.
down, lighting had to be adjusted here and there, different shadows or different anti-aliasing techniques had to be cut.
Yeah.
Um, it made me appreciate the GameCube version a lot more just
Yeah.
because of for that time, when you think about really all the stuff that they implemented in that game, it was like unreal. Like Luigi's active reflection in mirrors, the lighting from windows coming down. I mean, granted, it was probably baked in, but the way that they thought about being able to do that,
Yeah.
um, lighting
And,
different hallways.
just, like, thinking about, like, they obviously would've like, the GameCube at that time, we didn't necessarily have HD TVs, or at least they weren't huge yet, and so, like, you're playing on a CRT. The CRT adds a certain, like, softness that helps certain details actually pop, which seems
Mhm.
counterintuitive. Like, oh, it's a soft picture, but there's more detail. But there's a difference. You look at, like, these games on the Nintendo Switch that they're bringing from, like, yeah, Super Nintendo, and then you look at it on the original CRT, and it's like, oh man, like, it's way more beautiful, like, just absolutely gorgeous on a CRT. And so,
Mhm.
like, thinking back to, like, yeah, this certain, like, almost realism it had to the look of it on the GameCube that's missing on the 3DS, because, like you said, not only is the power not there to get those nice smooth anti-aliased edges, but also it's an LCD screen or LED. I'm not sure which one is in the
Mhm.
3DS, but it's an HD screen missing that certain, like, softness to help blur some of those lines and add a quote unquote like realistic look to it almost, or like, and give it that almost, yeah, that spooky, creepy vibe that you get on the GameCube, especially playing on a CRT. So yeah, like, it's incredible, like,
Yeah.
what they're able to do with that old console.
One of my like clearest memories of experiencing this game for the first time is when Luigi goes to either open a door with a key or he'll go to turn a
Yeah.
doorknob. So
Do
Yes.
in
do
the
do.
GameCube one, the model for his hand, like on the glove, you could see like stitching in fabric because they were able
Yes.
to do like such a high poly model on that. I remember seeing that and thinking, man, that is insane. Come to find out years later, I recently found this out. The GameCube was actually the second most powerful console out of that generation. It was more powerful than PS2.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Really?
But yeah, but it
Wow.
was the discs that held it back because they couldn't have all the same amount of data. But the processor in the GameCube is actually more powerful than the PS2. So it was really Xbox, then GameCube, then PS2. But the discs was what held back
That's crazy.
GameCube from
Just
achieving
because they wanted to
greatness.
be unique, they shot themselves in the
Yeah,
foot and use
exactly.
these
They
stupid
did it before.
mini
They did it with
discs.
N64. They could have had discs on the N64. They didn't want to do it, even though it was cheaper. And then they said, "Okay, fine, you'll have discs, but they'll be, the size of a mini donut and hold a sixth of the data of a DVD." So
Yeah. You talking about that image of Luigi opening a door and how it zooms in very close on the doorknob, whether he's using a key or just opening it with his hand, or like trying to open it and it failing because you don't have the key yet. That is an example, I think, of one of many ways that this game and the developers set themselves up really well to have a very impressive game. This obviously isn't some open world, free camera roaming game where you're going to be able to see every inch and nook and cranny of this space.
mhm.
But the space that they do allow you to see, they were very deliberate about making things detailed, giving them, making every object in a room able to be like interacted with, which was also something that was impressive.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, while you could see someone maybe complain and be like, well, it's a small game and there's only so much space you can cover. I actually am really impressed with what they did in that choice to make it maybe a smaller experience, but not just in the scope of the whole adventure itself, which is like, I mean, I think I did it in a little over 6.5, maybe 7 hours for the first time.
Perfect length.
Perfect, especially for us old geezers at our age.
Don't have that much
But
time
yeah.
in the day to play games. It was
No.
perfect.
It was 3 sessions. I played this entire game on stream, and Adrian came for the second of the 3, and I finished it in 3 2-hour-ish sessions. So it was so nice to be able to digest it, and the perfect game to get asked to be on a podcast for, one that you can actually play in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's small in size, but it's not small in vision. It's not small in content.
Yeah.
For what we get, it is jam packed. Every room feels different. Like no room felt like it was a copy and paste. Granted, they all had like an overall motif because they were trying to
Mhm.
stay within making it feel like an old mansion. But there were long dining rooms. There was a basement cellar. There was an attic area. Like it all felt different. It all felt like I was somewhere. I was in a room I had never been yet. And I really appreciated that. And like you were saying, every room is chock full of either a gimmick that you had to try to figure out,
Mhm.
or it was like the best example is the hidden treasure room when you
Yes,
fall down
yes.
the chimney from the roof.
Yeah.
That room was so awesome. Like all the walls were sparkling and everything, and
Yeah.
it didn't look like any room that was anywhere else in the mansion, but it was there. They had to think
Finding-
about that and they had to model it and everything.
Finding that was so satisfying too, because it is very near the end of the game, and I had been wondering this whole time, how am I supposed to get into this sealed room with these like wooden boards over it? Like I tried burning it at a certain point once you
Same,
get the
yeah.
like fire metal. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, I guess I'd have no idea. And then you enter it, and like by accident off the roof, walking off a plank, basically. So that was really cool to discover, and was one of those, oh, I'm here sort of moments in the game.
What I enjoyed too is that then once you're in there, and maybe I missed something in a tutorial, but I didn't discover until this room how to utilize the mirrors. Because like I'm like, now how do I get out of here? Like it doesn't let you go back up the chimney and the door's shut. Like what am I supposed to do? And I was like messing around with stuff, and I'm like, there has to be a reason. Like it was interesting to me. I was like, oh, this mirror's covered, or just something's covered. And I pull the cover off. It's a mirror. I'm like, I've been seeing these mirrors all over. Why is there so many mirrors? And finally, I was just playing around with stuff because I remember earlier, like EGAD was like, oh, scan things and it'll tell you information. I scanned the freaking mirror with my Game Boy Horror, and all of a sudden it takes me back to the beginning. I'm like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
I guess I wish I would have known about this earlier. This is awesome. So
If
I love that. Like, not only was it cool to stumble upon, but then to like, oh, now how do I get out? Oh, and to stumble upon how to exit as well. I was like, oh, this is so fulfilling. I love that room.
I also discovered that feature accidentally, even though I've definitely used it in the past. It was, I believe, searching for after the blackout occurs and you're searching for that one ghost that EGAD tells you can only find when the lights are out, and he tells you something about him being in a room with mirrors. So I was looking at every room with mirrors, and I was like, maybe it's this one, and I took a picture of it, and sure enough, same thing happened to me. I was back at the entrance.
Oh no, what's happening?
That's one more thing too. Before we move on to the next area, I want to give that team a really big shout out is Luigi himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think the decision to give Luigi this, a lot of people say cowardly, but I mean, if you were in a haunted mansion surrounded by hundreds of ghosts that could pop up on you at any moment with some having the intent to like explode and kill you, I
He's
think
just
you'd be a little
cautious. He's
scared
cautious.
too. I think yeah. I
Yeah.
think you'd be a little shaken up.
To his credit, I wouldn't even go in. I'd be like, no, that's fine. I'm not doing this.
Oh no, if it was
Sorry,
my
bro.
brother, I'd do it. And that's a foreshadowing for what we'll talk about later.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
But yeah, I love that they gave one of the buttons of the game is dedicated to Luigi calling out for Mario. I thought that was
Mhm.
like
Mario.
it's such a
Mario.
weird but fitting choice because the
Yeah.
objective of the game is to find Mario. And I like that it kind of in a way subconsciously lets you know how much they care about each other, is that they're willing to devote a whole button for the game to that function just to be try to find Mario with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Him humming along with the music and
Oh,
the humming
perfect.
getting more shaky the scareder he gets when he's in like new areas and stuff like that. I thought that was really well done. Just his mannerisms, how he kind of when he defeats a ghost, he kind of buffs up for a minute and has that moment of celebration, and then he gets right back down into, oh yeah, I'm in the
Yes.
mansion.
Yep.
So just, shout out to them for that. You guys did a really good job at characterizing Luigi and making the player want to help him achieve his goal, making him a likable character. Moving on to the gameplay factor. How did you guys feel about the gameplay? How it played? I know Garrett, you mentioned about having to use the circle pad or the what is it, analog nub a lot
Yeah.
for controls. This was kind of the one. It sounded like it was almost a sore spot for you.
Yeah, it was just a little janky trying to control the vacuum and just in certain like situations. Like there's a few ghosts where you need to be a little more nimble with like swinging around with the vacuum and the poltergeist. And boy, it was tricky. And I know because they really wanted you just to use the motion controls, but it's like I don't want to be like I'm like sitting on an airplane playing this thing. I don't want to be like swinging around the airplane trying to like catch this freaking ghost. Like just let me move around. It's like I guess I use this dang nub. Which like I don't know if like I've never owned a 3DS before until this one, and it's like stiff as a board. Like it doesn't move. Like you press it and things happen, but it like the nub itself like doesn't really move. I'm like, this is
You have
really
to break it in.
uncomfortable. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or not, but I'm like, this is uncomfortable to use. I don't like it.
Yeah, you got to break it in.
I just gotta sit there and just
Yeah, that's what you got to do for
work
like
it out.
the first week. Just
Yeah.
rotate it the entire time, and then it'll be broken in.
Okay.
Connor, did anything come up for you? Did it, especially being on GameCube, because you have the original control scheme? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I really love how this game controls, and it really feels like they gave a lot of patience and time to making this game work with this controller, which it checks out. It's their like premier launch title. Sure, maybe it's a different relationship than the N64 controller to Mario 64, but it feels perfect for this game. Both for the shoulder buttons that are analog, meaning that you've got and people are familiar with the GameCube controller, they'll know
Mm-hmm.
that the L and R buttons are pressure sensitive, so you can press them in a certain distance, and then they will click at the end once you are fully pressing them down, and that that allows for different levels of suckage or blowage, as I believe the technical terms are.
Yes, correct.
And so that's fantastic, but also the whole control scheme felt nice and simple and straightforward to me, both with Nintendo's first ever dual analog stick with the C stick. I actually didn't have an issue with it, even though it's a little tiny guy. And then using other buttons when you needed to, like context sensitive stuff, whether it was the call button or the, I guess, interact button or the flashlight at certain times. The controller just allowed for so much, and I highly recommend trying it on this with this game anytime. But then again, this is maybe my favorite controller ever, so I'm a little biased.
It's in the top 3 for sure.
Yeah, it's so I don't think any controller is more comfortable in the hand. There's just a couple modern things I might tweak to it, but that's a conversation for another day.
Fair point.
One other thing, real quick, like control wise on 3DS that I did enjoy, because I talked about what I didn't enjoy, was having the second screen and the map right there and
Yes.
everything. Oh my gosh, that was so handy.
it was
Just
so
to be like
nice.
you're playing on the top screen, and you just look down, and it's all touchscreen. You can even tap on the room, see what the names of the rooms are. You can change floors,
Ooh.
and you don't have to pause the game at all. Like you can still keep playing and just see exactly where you're going, where you need to go. Oh man, it was so handy. I was like, this is fantastic. Like, give me 2 screens all the time.
Gosh, the Wii U and the 3DS and probably the DS blessed us with so much like easy access to maps or inventories. And yeah, I found myself so often, because I got a general layout of the place, but I'm still would have to refer to the map to know, like, oh, is this the floor that the bathroom is on with the shower, or is this the one below that? Constantly bringing up the Game Boy Horror to check the map, which thankfully I will say that happens so quick. Like, you don't have to wait for like a loading screen or anything. It is pretty instantaneous to bring your little device up and then put it away. And of course, that device in general is just so charming, and I love when Nintendo games, when they use a device that you actually could have in the real world, like a Game Boy Color, as like an equipment in the game.
It was a bold choice.
Yeah,
doing the Game Boy Horror when they knew the Advance was coming out, because
Yes.
they really wanted to hold that back that much that they were like, nope, don't tell anybody about the Advance, even though it's coming out in like 3 months. Just use that Game Boy Horror, that Game Boy Color,
and would have been
so-
out like months before the launch of the GameCube.
right. So why
Yeah.
not just model it? Unless they were down to the wire with trying to decide what design they were going with, but. Who knows? Who knows what goes on behind the scenes over at the old Big N? I want to take a second and talk about the soundtrack.
Mm.
What little there is, there's some pretty good jams packed into this game. Mainly the what's the word? I guess intermissions in between acts when they tally up your ghosts that you got for that
Oh
area.
yeah.
That's a good little jam. And the end credits theme, I think
was
works
that
really well.
the one in
Hmm?
oh, that's the bum 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 bum, right? That's the one
Yeah.
like in between when you yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, when they're showing like all the ones that you caught and all the treasure you got. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
nice little like, okay, we're back at EGADS, we're chilling out. Just vibe for a little minute.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that music says to me. And then the end credits theme feels like the end of, I guess maybe like a movie or like a TV show.
Mhm.
Like it feels like an end credits, like this is all over, happy ending. But it still has that kind of scary, spooky kind of backbone with some of the instruments that they use in it. So I really dig that.
Oh man, I wish I would have given a little more of my ear to the end credits, because I I watched the end credits as I finished it, but I think I was doing a lot of talking on stream, so I missed it. Is it the same main theme that you hear throughout the game, but just with a little, I guess, tweaks to it for the end credits?
Uh it's kind of a mix of it's a mixture of a lot of things because it has a little bit of a Mario Brothers theme mixed in there.
Oh, cool.
It has a little bit of the Luigi's Mansion theme mixed in there, and then it has, like I said, the kind of spooky, almost like there's a little bit of a theremin in there at times. Um, I don't know. I really dig it.
I gotta go
I
check it out.
do
Yeah.
it.
Because I did love the main theme. You've already named a few of the different tracks that you get in this game, but for the most part, we do get the main theme with different variations, which
Mhm.
we just on over at Super NPC Radio just did a whole episode on DK64. They do something very similar where it's this main DK Isle theme, but wherever you are, it is not only tuned to that environment, whether you're in the Angry Aztec or the creepy castle, but then it's also dynamic based on whether you're in a cave or
The
another
Banjo
space.
Kazooie effect.
Yeah, and this game does that as well, can be more haunting at moments. I think the worse you are doing health-wise,
Oh yeah.
it affects Luigi's manner, like the way he's making noise, but also the music as well. So, really good job for doing a lot with a little. Personally, I feel like that's what this game does well, music-wise.
Yeah, to be able to just kind of utilize that same track, but give it new life with depending on what room you're in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like your environment. Like it's so like you walk into like the baby's room and maybe okay, now they're adding like little like ding 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 like
Oh,
I don't know, or
yeah.
like chimey sounds to it. And then or like xylophone type sound. And then like you go into uh the basement and there's like the room with like the sewage, like the sewer pipe or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's just like a little more like reminds you of like oh we're in the sewers of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, kind of like more like brr, 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 like kind of like just
Mm,
gross and dirty, and I don't know, yeah, there's like a grunge to it. And it's incredible that yeah, by the end you're not just ripping your hair out and be like I can't stand this song anymore. Like to be
yeah.
honest, like I was like
Give me
humming
more
along to it,
variations
whistling
of it.
along, and like I'm not tired of it. I'm sure there's some people who do, but me personally, I'm like, no, that song's a bop. Like I am all about that track. Give it to me any flavor you want. I'll take it. I love it.
This is a song too that outside of the game, I have had in my head since before I even really started playing it for this show. Like, I'll just be humming it along like Luigi does in the game, just to myself. It's so funny. I think I even was doing that so much that I was with my girlfriend the other day and I noticed she was doing it and she didn't even watch me play this game. But was like because I had been doing it so much was
It's
just got
infectious.
in her brain. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I love it. Last thing I think we should probably touch on is the I you, I'd say there's a pretty good story in there, overarching. Luigi somehow, as Connor was invited in a similar fashion,
Yes.
received a telegram that he had won a mansion and went to go and check it out. I'm sorry, and Mario did as well. Mario went ahead of him to see what was going on and ended up getting kidnapped because he found out that the mansion was haunted. And is now in the clutches of whatever, aka spoilers, King Boo, is in control of the mansion, and Luigi has to go in and save him.
Well, it's all an illusion, right? Isn't that what the professor says? Like the mansion doesn't exist. Like a day ago it wasn't here. Now it's here, which is crazy too. It's like, oh, that's like so interesting. Somehow King Boo is able to break out of Egad's paintings and then conjure this imaginary mansion and then try to lure people inside. It's like, oh, this
I
is some
always liken
crazy
it to
like
like
world building going on here.
I always like to liken it to a ghost house. You know, like in Mario World when you go to the ghost house. I think it's just like the ultimate version of that.
That makes sense. I
Yeah.
never thought of that.
Definitely. There's a lot of strange stuff going on too with even Egad's involvement in this whole thing because he's so prepared for what is to come. He's this inventor, this engineer guy,
Mhm.
and just happens to have the perfect like weapon for you to use, the poltergust that you have. Not only that, but like the whole the story itself and like how this mansion is there and that it was like created by a ghost who created these ghosts who like I don't know, maybe they're able to create ghosts too. Like everyone you interact with, whether it's one of the standard ghosts in a hallway, a boo, or the special ghosts that you get that you put in the paintings, they have, especially those special ghosts, they have stories and like a whole, which which really gives them a lot of personality and makes each one different the way you go about getting them. But yeah, like there's a lot of mystery there as far as like how they got created. Some ghost is a good writer, is what I'm thinking.
What's
To be
up?
honest, since I played 3 on the Switch, like I knew that this wasn't the case, but for a second I was almost like, yeah, like Connor was saying, the fact that Egad like knows so much, he has all the weapons, like is he going to be the bad guy at the end? And I'm like, no, he
Yeah.
can't be because he's the
Like
good guy, and like he
he's
helps you
actually
in
the
3, so he
ghost.
can't be. But it's almost like he knows too much. He's too good at this. Like, what is going on here?
He's been doing it
Like,
for decades.
what's that?
He's been doing it for decades. He said
Yeah,
it
I
in
guess
the.
I guess that's true. He has lots of experience, but
He
still,
is,
I was just
he's,
waiting. I was like, is he gonna be
yeah.
Is he gonna be a twist at the
I
end
can see
here?
how you would get there though. I always liken the special ghosts that you put in paintings to maybe they're just other ghosts who happen to be friends with King Boo, or maybe they, maybe boos aren't the only form of ghost
Yeah.
in the Mario universe. So
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is the
Well,
first time, as far as I can tell, in the Mario series that there are ghosts that aren't like Boo like. Like maybe these are spirits in the afterlife that Boo is like commandeered to put in this mansion. I don't know.
well, from they were the spirits that Professor Egad had captured in his decades of work, right? So
Oh,
it's like
okay.
over his. So that's what it was, and but Boo released them from the paintings, isn't it? I
Mm,
think that's what happened, right? Is so Egad had captured King Boo, and King Boo managed to break out, and he was like, "Hey, I'm bringing all these other guys that you captured with me."
right.
So that's how I understood it, at
that
least. So it's
checks out.
almost like over the decades and decades and decades of capturing ghosts all over the world, and then they all got like kind of released in this one house. So they don't. Yeah, it's interesting. Like they all got mashed into this one mansion, but in reality, these ghosts probably don't know each other. Like it's not like they actually lived in a mansion together back in the day. There's a bunch of spirits that the only thing they have in common is being captured by Egad at one
Some
point
of
in
them are related.
their afterlife. I think
Yeah.
some
That's
of them.
true.
I'm sure some of them are related, but that's the thing. Sorry, something just like scraping my air conditioner.
Uh-oh.
This
Get
is
your
like thought the
poltergust.
AC was gonna
Let's
fall on
go.
my head.
The ghosts heard you talking
The
smack,
ghost.
and
Yeah.
they're saying hi.
The big thing that I wanted to talk about in this game, for me anyway, is the ending of the game. For me, this is probably in the top 3 endings of a game that Nintendo has ever made, in my
Wow.
opinion. But it kind of hits different for me because of the way that I kind of frame it. Ugh, don't get back in there.
Was that a tear?
It almost was. So for the uninitiated, the end of the game, Luigi defeats King Boo and was able to take Mario's portrait that King Boo had sealed him in and reverse the machine that they used to press ghosts into pictures and was able to get Mario out. So the machine spits Mario out. He has like one of the girders over his neck or something like that, and he's like clearly dazed because he's been through the ringer. And the camera kind of sits on Mario for a second, and then it pans back over to Luigi, and it just kind of lets the camera sit on Luigi for a while, and then he starts laughing because of how ridiculous Mario looks, but at the same time, you start to see tears fall down his face, and it's a perfect mixture of relief and being like just overwhelmed with emotion, and at the same time still seeing something incredibly funny. Like, it's the perfect mixture of emotions to me. Like,
Mm.
Luigi was so worried about Mario this entire time, and to finally, realize that your brother is okay, the person you've been looking for that you didn't even know for the majority of the game was even alive, you were able
Mhm.
to get him back, and just that like overwhelming sense of I did it. You know, I came here to find the person that I care about the most. Um and I know it's a video game. I know it'll never happen or anything like that, but it makes me think about like, what if it was my brother
Mhm.
and I had to go and get him, and it makes me think about like him being in that place and how I would feel if I was able to go and get him. That's kind of why I'm able to connect with Luigi a lot more than that. And and on that level, and I feel that because I kind of am able to put like our relationship in the place of Mario and Luigi's, and it kind of, hits home, and it chokes me up every time when I think about it like that. Um,
That's really sweet, and I just I must have missed the tears, but either way, that emotion is there, tears, or whether you notice the tears or not. And I would not, it was unexpected for me for them to show Luigi, like you say, had this enormous feeling of relief, but also this release of being overcome with this emotion and happiness for having saved your brother. Just I feel like they definitely give you some of like, oh, they love each other, they're brothers, they're friendly. But like it almost is more of like a Zelda move in a way to have like a more of a deeper emotion shown by one of their characters.
mhm.
Yeah, that was really cool, and he's doing this thing where I've been in a situation like this where you're laughing so hard because something is so funny, but then another emotion sort of takes over, and it's like, oh, your relief, like overwhelmed laughing, and he's crying too.
Mhm.
It's cool. It's just
Yeah.
unexpected, I thought.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
cool. Like I mean, we've said it a few times on this episode. Is they did such a good job, like just giving Luigi a personality, making him an actual character, a person. Like he has they gave him humanity. He's
Mm-hmm.
not just like this, bunch of pixels that follows Mario around. Like,
Yep.
oh no, he actually is like, this little character that feels things and thinks things, and
Yeah.
they did
And went
such a
into a place that
fantastic job.
he would almost like have rather died than gone in to that mansion. But that's how much he cares about Mario, is he's willing to do that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and two
So
other times as well.
yeah, that's true. Well, I think after the first time he was like, all right, I kind of get the hang of this now. But I mean, the first go around, yeah, it's something different. It hits different because
Mhm.
he kind of, like I was saying, he went in with the idea that I don't even know if this is all worth it, if Mario's alive or anything. I could die in here, but
Yeah.
I gotta find Mario. So yeah. So maybe not for many people, but this ending really hit for me. And I rank it very highly among maybe not just Nintendo endings, but like video game endings period. I
Mm,
think had they just made it him laughing at Mario, I think it would have been just, a pretty good um video game ending, but I think having Luigi cry at the same time gives it a much higher level of emotional intelligence, um as far as the person interpreting the scene, and whoever wrote it and decided to do that at the same time. Um
the
yeah.
only thing that could top it possibly is if Luigi cries at the end of 4.
Or if Luigi has to save all of them
Yeah.
with his goo tears.
Oh, no. Uh,
I
that
said
was
tears,
that that was
relax.
actually a That was actually a big surprise because Luigi is definitely not in the original GameCube version, correct?
Nope.
Correct.
Right. That's what I thought. Because when he popped up in the 3DS version, I was like, I'm pretty sure he wasn't in this game. Like, what is happening now? And then I realized, oh, it's a gimmick, so you could play co-op. But that was a little weird, like when they introduced Luigi, and
hmm
I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, oh, it's
Also,
get people to
be
do
thankful that you
co-op.
didn't do that because apparently, from what I've seen, if you play co-op, the frame rate just takes a nosedive. Like
Mm.
it's nearly unplayable.
Like,
Um, yeah, I think we've covered our bases pretty well here, gentlemen. Any last remarks or thoughts you want to add to the discussion before we head on out?
Yeah, I think for me, just I want to um drive home what I think was one of the many aspects of this game that ended up making it so fun and engaging for me was the gameplay coupled with whatever would be unique about each room, and going in there and using a limited tool set that you would have that grows slightly by getting the elemental metals to interact with certain objects or ghosts, but entering a room and clearing it out, whether it be of the regular ghosts, like seeing that your Game Boy Horror is blinking and that there's a boo available, and chasing the boos with their funny names around. They were so punny, but I still liked them.
great.
That, and then just there was a thrill and an excitement to catching each ghost. It diminishes over time when you're used to catching the ghost with 10 health or whatever, but
And then they have
Yeah.
300.
oh gosh, those boos.
The worst.
But yeah, I just had so much fun in the challenge of stunning a ghost, sucking it up, avoiding other ghosts, avoiding like the traps they would set out, whether it's a banana or a mini mushroom, and
Mhm.
yeah, and then getting better over time and trying to hold on to a ghost for dear life. I just love that aspect, entering a room and just clearing it out, basically.
Very satisfying gameplay loop. It's like, even
Mm-hmm.
though like you're literally doing the same thing over the course of like 50 rooms, but it's just or whatever, like 30 rooms, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it for me, yeah,
Doesn't
didn't
get old.
Didn't get old. Felt good.
Well, you heard it here. I'm sure you didn't hear it first because the game is 20 plus years old, but definitely give Luigi's Mansion a shot. It's near and dear to my heart, and apparently to these other gentlemen's here now too. Having completed their first gameplay, I hope this isn't your last. I definitely think you should revisit it now that you know what to expect, because now you can look for things that you didn't notice the first time through. And same for everybody listening. That'll do it for us for this episode of Super Gamer Book Club. Connor, thank you so much for coming on and being our guest and letting us push you to finally beat this game. I hope it was worth it.
Oh, it was absolutely worth it. You two, thank you so much for bringing me back. I always love getting to talk video games with both of you, whether it's you're coming and doing something with us, or I get to come and do something with you. And truly just grateful to have an excuse to play through this for the first time. I want to revisit this every year now because it's such a short experience. Like, I don't know, maybe my mansion won't be a little house next time. So thank you
Oh
for
yeah,
having me. This was a blast.
real quick, what was
Yeah.
everyone's rankings at the end?
B baby.
I
What
got
was
the
that?
little greenhouse.
B.
A B? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, I like felt like I almost 100% of the game. Like I only missed like one boo somehow. I got 49 out of 50. I thought I had all 50, and then when I finished it, I said 49. I'm like, wait, what? I thought I had them all. And I got an E ranking. I'm like, what? I got all the
Ooh.
main ghosts. I got all the boos. I got cash out the wazoo. And then they give me an E. I'm like, I was about ready to throw a 3DS across the room when that happened. I'm like, you friggin' like full of
There
crap piece of garbage game.
there are ghosts that only appear once in certain rooms that you have to get on your first interaction or they're gone. And I think there's also something to being able to hang on to ghosts, portrait ghosts longer. They might spew more like pearls or
Pearls.
what have you. There's
Interesting.
might be other stuff I'm leaving out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
If
right.
you 100 to 0, you get maybe double the amount of pearls that you would normally get. It's tough, but somebody's got to do it.
Crazy. Crazy.
You got to make sure you knock on like everything too. You got to knock on everything. You got to use your vacuum on everything because even the most mundane stuff will spit out a ton of cash out of nowhere. Also those gold mice, they
Oh,
help out a
yes.
lot.
Yeah, I
The
saw
little
them
the
pop
little
up
gold
quite a bit.
critters.
Them or the bats, and always try to catch those. They're fast though.
Um, yeah, yeah. I gotta be. But I also cheated because I know where a lot of stuff is. Um, yeah, that will do it for us. Mr. Connor, where can the good people find you around the internet, or what projects are you working on right now?
Yeah, you can find me if you'd like to follow me on social media. I'm I'm on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Conner_McCabe. I've also started to stream a little more recently, so if you want to come watch me play video games like I played this whole game, I'm at twitch.tv/consiscool69, and that's CONZ. And then, yeah, like Adrian promoted at the beginning of the show, check out my podcast, Call Me By Your Game. It's a show where I sit down with someone and hear from them about a meaningful video game from their past. It's a little bit of a biographical show from the person I'm with. Both of these lovely gents have been on before, 2 great episodes. And we're doing a lot there, and through there you'll find Super NPC Radio, where we do a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, that'll do it for me.
Rad. Uh, I guess you could tell people where they could find you, Garrett, even though they see you here all the time.
They're sick of me. They're absolutely sick of me. You can find me everywhere at G Morlang, and obviously on our main show. Go listen to that. But also, go listen to Super Dungeon Boys, our D&D podcast we've been putting out all month. Go follow that. You can watch it on YouTube. But honestly, it's more designed with audio in mind, so you could just listen to the podcast and get the full effect there. And it's still on podcast feed, so search Super Dungeon Boys. And yeah, that's been a
It rules.
blast to produce and put together. And I'm getting ready to finish up editing the final episode. I think it's going to be about a 6-episode run. Episode 5 is out currently for Patreon supporters. Episode 4 is out for the public. But yeah, this weekend the last episode will go out to Patreon, and I'm excited to hear what people think. I haven't. It's weird. Like we keep like trying to put feelers out there, and like no one's really responding and saying anything other than like I have like 2 buddies who are listening to it, and I'm like, hey, what are people thinking? And it's like nothing. So I'm waiting. I can't wait for the end. I can see people are downloading and listening. So I'm like, all right, let's just get to the end and see what kind of feedback we get. It'll be interesting
Hey
to hear
man,
what they say.
that's fine. I did it for us.
It was a
That
blast.
campaign,
Yeah, it was a blast to play.
that campaign was fueled by delirium because it was finished at like 2 a.m. So that, I would say that added to the creativity, if I do say so myself.
Yes. For sure.
You can find me any and everywhere online at Homeboy. That's HOLMBOI. And of course, you can find me along with Garrett and JJ on our normal Super Gamer Boys podcast. And that will do it for us. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, what's up?
Are you going to announce next month's episode?
That's what I was just getting ready.
Hey.
So for our next month, we are doing the second pillar in the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Holy Trinity. We are partnering up once again with the Nintendo Cartridge Society to cover The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Oh, that's a bombshell news announcement. Oh, yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yes, yeah. We already did Super Mario World. That was our first one with them.
Yeah.
And then now we're going to do A Link to the Past. And I can't think of anybody else that I would rather have for that than the Cartridge Society themselves.
Oh, wow. Can't
I'm
wait.
so stoked. I'm so
So,
stoked because I have never played this game. I don't think I've ever even touched it before. So I am excited to fire it up on my Nintendo Switch and hopefully get through it in the next month.
Baby.
We'll see.
I can't wait to hear what you think. Oh, this is I know you've heard people talk about it, of course.
Oh yeah, I've only heard incredible things. So we'll see if that kind of ruins the experience, makes it better. You know, I just got to remember, okay, no, I need to form my own thoughts, my own opinions, you know, not based on anyone else's. I am excited. There's a lot of hype going into it because of that.
Yes. I'm stoked to hear what you think. Yeah, so look out for that. The end of next month. We have to figure out how to make that work because it is also Thanksgiving time.
Thanksgiving's Spanksgiving, you know?
Yeah, Spanksgiving
Says
indeed.
you. But I'll say, how about this? Look for it sometime in November. We'll do that.
Yep. Well, you'll
it's
get
not-
it eventually. How about that?
No, don't do that because it will never bring it out. All right, y'all. We will see you next month. Be good and get started on Link to the Past so you can cover it with us then. Take care. We're out. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As a reminder, if you want to catch any of the new episodes the first Friday that they come out of every month, you can find them only on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/supergamerboys. And don't forget to check out our main episodes too. Those are pretty cool if I say so myself. All right, we're out of here. Peace.